Welcome to the testing laboratory. I am your lead tester, and today we are running a high-stakes explainer session. We are officially auditing the Cambridge Arabic 9680 Paper 4 mark scheme. And our primary objective is to bridge that massive, incredibly frustrating gap between a standard B grade and an A star. Specifically, we are zooming all the way in on the notoriously volatile 0 to 5 no material assessment framework. If you've ever walked out of a literature exam feeling like you just authored an absolute masterpiece, only to get your results back and see a completely average, middle-of-the-road score, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are systematically dismantling weak essay structures. We are taking the worst internet study hacks, the viral shortcuts, and the bad student revision assumptions, and we are going to stress test them live against official Cambridge Examiner reports. It is time to replace those fragile habits with bulletproof structural writing strategies. Let's initialize the diagnostics and dive right into auditing these literary analysis frameworks. We need to establish the baseline truth right now, and there is absolutely zero ambiguity here. The examiners are practically screaming this from the rooftops in their principal examiner reports year after year. They are telling us that just reading and understanding the Arabic literary texts is only half the battle. The other half, the half that actually dictates whether you secure those top-tier university admissions, is the structural mechanics of how you construct your literary argument under pressure. The 0 to 5 no material framework does not give you a safety net. It does not give you the benefit of the doubt. It awards 0 marks for pure plot summary, 0 marks for irrelevant filler. It demands rigorous, self-generated, deeply analytical writing. Our mission in this explainer is to completely decode what examiners are actually looking for when they sit down with your essay on one side of the desk and a strict, unforgiving rubric on the other. Here is our exact testing protocol for today. We initiate with Phase 1, covering core concepts and myths. Phase 2 breaks down the procedural framework. Phase 3 intercepts critical examiner warnings. Phase 4 plunges us into the interactive lie detector arena. And Phase 5 locks in our final verdict. Initiating Phase 1 core concepts and myths. Let's load up the cognitive target and look at the theoretical foundations. I want you to really think about this central question for a second. Why do candidates find applying concepts to unfamiliar literary texts so incredibly difficult? This isn't just a rhetorical question we are throwing around the lab. It is the fundamental structural failure point identified across almost every single exam series. The assessment objectives strictly target 3 things: knowledge, analysis, and evaluation. Now, it's very easy to memorize plot points and check off that knowledge box during your revision, but when Cambridge throws an unfamiliar text passage or a highly complex, multi-layered thematic prompt at you, the cognitive load entirely shifts. You are suddenly required to evaluate literary devices and authorial intent simultaneously in real time. This exact moment of cognitive overload in the exam hall is where the most common viral revision myths begin to form as students desperately reach for a shortcut. And this clash right here illustrates the physics of that problem perfectly. Let's look at a simulated test subject. We will call him Tester Alex. Now, Alex believes every single online revision shortcut he scrolls past. He sees a high-tariff essay question on a complex Arabic novel load up on his screen, and he immediately decides to deploy the classic viral page-dumping strategy. He writes 5 entire pages summarizing the plot, throwing in absolutely every piece of advanced Arabic vocabulary he has ever memorized, completely overloading the text block with irrelevant jargon. He is hoping the examiner will just sift through all that mud to find a tiny piece of gold. He prioritizes superficial breadth. He thinks, if I write more pages, I automatically get more marks. But when we stress test Alex's response against the actual Cambridge benchmark, it fails instantly. The structural integrity shatters. The official documentation explicitly demands analytical depth and structured reasoning about the text. When a student page dumps a plot summary they are omitting marks, they're actually triggering an immediate marking penalty on the examiner's grid. Volume simply does not equal value. It's a complete myth. So, if sheer volume doesn't work, what does the theoretical architecture of a true top-band literary response actually look like? Well, our data shows it rests entirely on 3 load-bearing pillars. First, precise literary definitions. You absolutely cannot operate in a vague space here. Your identification of poetic forms, narrative devices, or syntactic structures must be mathematically exact. Second, textual evidence integration. You must seamlessly weld Arabic quotes directly from the source text into your sentences to anchor your points. And third, cross-thematic connections. The principal examiner reports definitively prove that candidates who can link a character's specific, isolated action to the much broader, overarching themes of the literary period achieve significantly higher marks. This is the blueprint for an unshakable essay. Moving right into Phase 2, the procedural framework. Let's step up to the diagnostic consoles and examine the technical methodology. This right here is the absolute core physics of the exam, the method mark strategy. Marks are awarded for the process of analysis, not just your final conclusion. Imagine a student who writes a completely brilliant concluding sentence about a protagonist's hidden psychological motive, but they provide zero structural scaffolding to actually support how they got there. Under the rigorous Cambridge rubric, that answer collapses under its own weight. You cannot shortcut the process. The examiners are literally tracking the logic of your literary argument step by step. They want to see the gears of your analytical engine turning on the page. How exactly did the author's specific linguistic choices in that exact paragraph lead you to that grand conclusion? If you provide the destination without giving the examiner the map, you forfeit all the critical method marks. It is that simple. So how do we build the map? This is the bulletproof, standardized sequence you must execute. Step 1. Identify key literary elements. You have to ruthlessly deconstruct the prompt and extract the most relevant quotes. Step 2. Apply relevant critical principles. Select the correct analytical lens. Step 3. Execute textual analysis. Step 4. Verify interpretation. And Step 5. Present format. Let's run a live simulation. We have tester Alex and tester Sam at their diagnostic consoles trying to construct an answer paragraph. Alex says, okay, let's just use that generic pre-written introduction template I found online. I'll just swap out the character's name. But Sam, who is scanning the prompt's requirements, stops him. Sam says, wait, look at the command word. The prompt specifically asks us to evaluate the impact of the setting on the tone. If we use your generic template, we completely ignore the setting. The entire paragraph structure will collapse under examiner stress testing because it has no direct analytical link to the command word. Alex argues back, but the template uses massive, complex words. It sounds smart. Sam shakes his head. It doesn't matter how big the words are if they aren't welded to the physics of the prompt. We have to start with step 1, isolate the setting, and build the analysis outward from there. And Sam is entirely correct. This back and forth proves that you have to tailor your logic to the prompt, not force the prompt to fit a pre-memorized shortcut. When you're actually interpreting the literature data in paper 4, you have to map your findings across this exact matrix to ensure your evaluation holds up. For explicit meaning, the requirement is basic. Extract plot details directly from the text. Who did what and when. But listen to me, that is only the absolute baseline. If you stop there, you get a C grade. To reach the A star, you have to push into implicit meaning. You must interpret authorial intent by actively mapping the literary devices. Why did the author deliberately choose a harsh, dissonant metaphor in that exact stanza? What is the psychological effect? And finally, context. You must apply the historical or cultural background of the Arabic text to inform your argument using evidence-based logic. Every single paragraph you deploy in that exam hall needs to seamlessly integrate these 3 levels of interpretation to survive the marking grid. Triggering the mid-test alarm for Phase 3. We are now intercepting critical warnings directly from the examiner networks.
System pause. Warning indicators are flashing. Before we blast away the absolute biggest exam lie of the century and show you the exact structural framework that actually wins top band marks, you need to secure your academic defense network right now. Do not let bad study advice compromise your final results. Hit subscribe to Ace the Exams at Ace the Exams and turn on all your notifications. Whether you are tackling Cambridge IGCSE, O-Levels, AS or A-Levels, we are running these myth-busting sessions weekly. Now, back to the data. You must guard your essay structure fiercely against the #1 trap in literature exams, descriptive writing. Far too many candidates write beautiful, flowing Arabic prose that does nothing but retell the story. The examiner already knows the plot. They have read the book 100 times. They are testing your ability to deconstruct it, not summarize it.
Let's pull up the top 3 mark scheme collapses. These are the catastrophic structural errors where candidates bleed easy marks by ignoring strict conventions. Number 1, forgetting proper formatting. In a high-level literature paper, failing to organize your essay into tight, coherent, thematic paragraphs is essentially academic sabotage. Number 2, skipping presentation checks. This translates to using vague or imprecise Arabic terminology when you should be discussing specific literary techniques. But number 3 is the ultimate red alert examiner warning, providing generic, non-context-specific answers. This is where dreams of an A-star go to die. Let's break that massive third warning down to its atoms. The myth shortcut that is everywhere on social media tells you to just memorize a generic, pre-written template. Students memorize a perfectly structured paragraph about a theoretical concept, like imagery, and they just paste it onto the exam page, completely ignoring the specific prompt. But the absolute examiner truth is uncompromising. A generic template will shatter instantly on the rubric. It has zero contextual strength. You must link every single point directly to the specific text in front of you. To fix this mid-test, we are injecting a high-yield framework right now, the PEAL structure. Point, evidence, explanation, link. Let's watch our testers deploy it. Sam writes a point about isolation. Alex provides the evidence, quoting the Arabic text perfectly. Sam writes the explanation of the linguistic mechanics. And then, the most crucial part, they execute the link. They actively weld their analysis of the poetic device back to the specific theme the prompt actually asked about. That is how you create an unshakable top-band paragraph asset.
Transitioning into Phase 4, welcome to the Interactive Field Audit Challenge. This is the lie detector arena. Before we test you, look closely at Cambridge's exact official definition of critical analysis. It is the evaluation of evidence quality by identifying limitations, assumptions made, alternative interpretations, and their effect on conclusions. It is not just pointing out a metaphor. It is actively interrogating the text. It is higher-order evaluative thinking. Lock this diagnostic criteria into your memory banks right now as we run our sweep on the next scenario.
All right, it is time for Assessment 2, Spot the Fake Shortcut. I want you to imagine a student has written a comparative analysis paragraph contrasting two Arabic poems. They have listed 3 brilliant ways the poems are similar in their use of nature motifs. They have used incredibly sophisticated vocabulary. On the surface, it looks like a high-scoring block of text. But based on Cambridge's stringent, real-world requirements for comparative critical analysis, I want you to look closely at the structural logic. Find the exact conceptual line where the logic breaks down and top band marks are completely forfeited. What crucial element is entirely missing from this approach? I'll give you a second to run your mental sweep. Let's reveal the correct diagnostic path. If your mental sweep of the comparative analysis only verified that the student spotted similarities, you completely failed the audit. High-order assessment on the Cambridge grid strictly requires identifying similarities and differences. You cannot just look at one side of the coin. Furthermore, you absolutely must utilize comparative connectives to evaluate relative importance. Just stating, hey, they both use nature metaphors, is purely descriptive. It's weak. But stating, while both authors share nature motifs, Poem A's specific use of harsh, dissonant desert imagery creates a far more impactful sense of psychological isolation, establishing its relative thematic importance. Now that is evaluative. That is the exact marking mechanic that unlocks the A-star standard.
Entering Phase 5. The testing is complete. We are logging our final data and locking in the structural patches.
Let's look at the main lab monitor. The results are entirely definitive. The viral myth of superficial page dumping? Busted. The myth of using generic, pre-written essay templates to cheat the system? Busted. The structured strategy of analytical depth, textual integration, and rigorous evaluative reasoning? Confirmed. We have mathematically proven today that sheer volume is a massive liability if it lacks true analytical integrity. To distill this entire lab session down, I need you to engrave these 3 universal truths into your revision protocols for Paper 4. Truth number 1, execute the method mark strategy. This is the 3-step command word scan. Trace the author's linguistic choices step by step to build your argument. Truth number 2, integrate your textual evidence flawlessly. Manage your mark per minute budget rule by ensuring every single point is welded directly to a specific quote from the Arabic text. Do not waste time on filler. Truth number 3, question assumptions to hit evaluative levels. This is your post-writing quality audit. Check yourself constantly to ensure you aren't just describing the plot, but genuinely analyzing authorial intent and thematic impact. That brings our final structural audit to a close. You now possess the exact, myth-free blueprint required to completely dominate the 0 to 5 no-material mark scheme. But knowing the framework is only Phase 1, you actually have to execute it in the field. I want you to start auditing your own past papers today using these exact metrics. Subscribe to ASTE Exams, click that notification bell so you never miss our weekly myth-busting explainer sessions, and right now, drop down into the comments and tell me the absolute weirdest exam hack you've seen online so we can stress test it in the lab next time. Stay focused, trust the structure, and I will see you in the next explainer.